All right, very good. Again, I'm Audrey Brady. I'm from Sikorsky. I run the commercial market segment for Sikorsky. I recognize that I'm standing between you and lunch, so I will keep this brief. I know we're running a little bit over time, but I'm really glad to see that my presentation actually weaves in everything that we've already been talking about this morning. Albeit, I think my message is a little bit more positive or optimistic about the market, but I'm really glad to be here to share this with you. So, as we stated, I think Michael brought it up this morning, we actually have aircraft flying today that are older than most of the people in this room. And honestly, just like everybody in this room, they still have a lot of life left. And what's really important to note is that we design the manufacturability, the safety, the reliability of the aircraft with that in mind, right? I recognize the fact that, the key technologies of today have got to think about what is going to be happening in the future. And that's why we partner with our customers, their customers, right? The ultimate people who are getting into that aircraft in order for us to be able to understand where the market is going. And we're investing millions of dollars in order to be able to do that. So really our market, our portfolio in terms of Sikorsky, really driven by two things, right? The military market, and for the civil market, the military is based on defense funding. And I better get away from the microphone. And our civil market is really based on our offshore oil. That's really where the majority of our products are. And that's really the common customer theme that we have in this room, right? So making sure that we understand where that market is, where it's going, and making sure that looking at the long term, because we've been in this business a long time. We have seen cycles like this before. We have to talk about value and getting through market turns like this, making those investments to outreach, these market downturns. So this is really a great quote, and I think it sums up everything that we've been talking about today, really one of my favorites. So it is the customer who determines what a business is. It's the customer alone whose willingness to pay for a good or service that converts economic resources into wealth and things into goods. So we're talking about that common theme of if we build it, if we make those investments, will the ultimate customer pay for that? And what does value actually mean to those customers, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit about, what that term value has meant during this downturn. So we know, things that will not change. We do know that people are still going to have to get to the rigs, right? That's not going to change for a long time, right? We need to make sure that we're keeping that in mind with the fact that we have to raise the bar of safety and reliability. But also, we have to look at the economics of that, right? We need to make sure that we're investing in those technologies to get our folks safe and reliably out to those rigs. Who's going to do it? Michael mentioned this morning, ERA and Bristow coming together, maybe some consolidation. Maybe Babcock is going to exit the market, so there might be some consolidation in the market. So that might change, and how they do it might change, right? Maybe, as mentioned earlier, the oil and gas companies will actually invest in the product directly and then have the operators operate those aircraft. I don't know, maybe that's something that we look into. Where we do it, right? We're seeing emerging markets all over the planet. We need to make sure that we're considering what the new markets, what the new rigs, what the new infrastructure is going to look at. So it's really critical for us to be in the forefront of helping shaping those requirements, and that's why it's really important for us to work with our customers long term. But what we do not know, again, is where the civil demand of the market is going, right? If we could predict that, I bet you, we all probably would be sailing on a yacht that we could buy in the room next door, right? So those are the things that we need to consider in the future. So the focus really has to be on value. And what does value mean? We talk about that word. And I think the word has been a bit overused and really, convoluted in this downturn. What has turned into is more of a conversation about price. And we've seen this in the industry where it's as fast as we can go to the bottom in terms of what something actually costs. instead of actually looking at the overall value of the product. And that really goes to the first quote, right, of what we're actually talking about. Because we have to invest in this product for the safety, reliability, but where is it going? And I'm going to show a couple of charts coming up here about what we consider as value and what our customers consider as value and what their customers consider as value. So it's more of a longer term view, right? We have to think strategically. What are we trying to achieve in the future? What is it that we want something game changing so that we can actually, take a look at where is the market going to be going and start thinking about that now. So that is all about customer value. That is about the solution and where we need to be in terms of investment. So investment is what is absolutely critical for what we're calling value. And investment now, which is very difficult when all we're talking about right now is price, is absolutely critical for us to be able to think about that. So what is Sikorsky doing? And why are we doing this, right? So we're obviously right now focusing on the economics for our customers, because all of our customers are coming to us and saying, listen, we've had to lower our prices, we have to get our aircraft flying, we absolutely need to work together in order to be able to do this. We are doing that. We're investing a lot of money in terms of reducing direct operating costs with the data that we're getting from our customers and the data, the 1.7 million hours of HUMS data that we have from the S92, so that we can improve the reliability, keep those parts on the aircraft longer, and also create value that way. But I want to take a time and explain a story where I actually had an amazing opportunity to have a day in the life of one of the folks that get on my aircraft every day to go to work, right? So I was a day in the life of an oil and gas worker. I walk in, I got my bag, they immediately put me on the scale. After I got over that, they weighed my bag and they gave me my assignment of where I was going to go that day. And then immediately after that, they handed me an immersion suit for me to put on. And of course, after those gymnastics, and if anybody has ever tried to put one on, it is gymnastics, and of course you have to get all the air out, so you gotta squeeze the air out of the collar that is pretty tight around your neck. And I'm thinking to myself, really glad I didn't have that second cup of coffee this morning, because I knew what I was about to do, and I was actually gonna have the opportunity to go to 3 rigs. After that, I sat in a room, and they showed me a video of how to get out of the aircraft in the event of emergency landing water. And that's the last thing that they see when they get on that aircraft. And those passengers, I was on there were 19 passengers, 2 crew, all of their bags, absolutely amazing. We're gonna go out to our first rig. Pilots have to do that last safety briefing. What was amazing to me, and actually an honor I have to say, I looked around the cabin and everybody's asleep. I'm like, this is good, because the last thing that they saw was how do I get out in the event of emergency, and they have confidence enough in that aircraft. It's almost as if, when we're coming out of plane to get here, they're doing this is how you get out of the seatbelt, this is where your life rafts are. Everybody's reading newspaper or on the phone or not really paying attention, right? Because they have confidence in the aircraft. We want to shift that paradigm. We want to make sure that the technology that we're investing in today is actually the technology where we can bring people to the rig without having to get on that emergency, without having to worry about what happens if we land in the water, what happens if. And we want to think about, okay, I'm getting on an aircraft to come to a conference, just like I'm going out to their job every day. That's the technology that we're investing in today. We know that that's not going to change overnight. We know that we have to work with our partners, we have to work with our customers, we have to work with their customers. But with the increase in technology, with that confidence, we actually are investing in technology that eliminates 2 of the land immediatelys. That is game-changing technology. That is technology that says we can get there, right? And that's where the investment has to go. That's where we're going, and that's why the product that we have that is already great in the industry, reliable, we heard 98% available, and we're using a lot of the data from our customer. what we hear is, okay, we're gonna take a great helicopter, we're gonna make it that much better because we already know it's good. We're gonna tweak those couple things and we're gonna make game-changing decisions. We're gonna, upgrade those avionics so that we can reduce the workload of the pilots. I'll tell you, I was going out to a couple rigs and it was in the North Sea, and first of all, there's a lot of ocean, but there's also a lot of rigs out there. So what I noticed the pilots doing, they're looking at the picture books, first of all, to make sure that they know what obstacles are ahead of them. But not only that, they said they use it to make sure they're gonna land on the right rig. The technology that we have today gives us that ability to be able to, make sure that they're landing on that right rig without having to do the picture books, right? Reducing that workload to make sure that we have that safety, reducing the obstacle situation. So where we're going, what we're doing, and again, of course, that's going to be available in the A+. The B, everything's going to be the same as the A+, that you can upgrade your current fleet. But the B will have larger windows. And what I just described to you as this paradigm shift of being able to go out to the rig and not have to worry about, landing in water and getting out of those windows will only be used to be able to see the sunrise better in terms of our passenger comfort, right? And that's our paradigm. So you think about the windows that are on the aircraft that we flew in to get over here, that there's no way that I'd be getting out of that window, even on my best day. So this is why it's really important that we're talking about the evolution of, the large cabin and the value of that, right? So again, immediately talking about what it's gonna take for us to get to the lower cost. We have 117 projects right now to get the cost out of the acquisition price, because we hear, that is very, very important, but also working with our customers for that availability rate. We couldn't have gotten there without them. We couldn't have gotten there without our maintenance reduced steering group that we have with the maintainers of our operators that tell us, why don't you just move this to a 1500 and you'll save me a lot of time. So we have reduced significantly the number of hours it takes to maintain our helicopters, and we did that with that collaboration. And all of the projects that we get to reduce operating costs come from not only our operators and what it takes to maintain it, but also the HUMS data that we have, 1.7 million hours, to be able to analyze and say, you know what, we designed these parts, and we designed these parts in an envelope that is really extreme. However, after 1.7 million flight hours, we know what we actually fly. We don't even fly close to that. So let us extend the lives of our parts to what we do know that we operate in. And that is really going to be the immediate game changing to reduce the passengers and baggage, and how far you have to move it. So when you're talking about 200 nautical miles, this is a specific example that we used with publicly known data, by the way, and I'd be happy to talk over lunch with anybody that would like to talk a little bit where we got this information, but we really looked at the value of the SW2 and how many passengers, how much baggage, how much we can take out to a rig in 200 nautical miles, and we compared it to our latest and greatest technology, which we're going to improve the gross weight, the payload, and also how much it's going to be to operate. And then we compared it to those super mediums. And we said to ourselves, in order to be able to move the same number of people, the same amount of baggage, the same, how much, we actually found that current aircraft is comparable to those super mediums. And we knew that before, and that's why Sikorsky made the conscious choice that the medium aircraft, the super mediums, and the heavies, we decided that the mediums and the heavies, we don't really need something in between, because when you look at this next chart and look at 150 nautical miles, it really is the same, right? You can do the same mission at 150 nautical miles for the same cost as a super medium. So in this case, what's really important to us is saying, okay, anything less than that, I would just use a cheaper aircraft using the medium segment, right? And looking at our operational analysis and what we need to invest in, this is where, we decided to go with our portfolio. And I'm hoping that I'm gonna get some good questions about this, but, this is where we see, the market. That's why we're investing even further in the S92, knowing that reducing those operating costs, reducing the acquisition costs for the B, it will actually improve the economics for our customers. Okay, so this is a picture of what an offshore oil configuration, actually similar to the one that I flew out to one of the rigs in the North Sea. Very comfortable, passenger-like, like I equated to us flying on a plane, coming over to this conference. It's really all about the ultimate customer, right? We talk about working with our operators. We talk about working with their financiers. We talk about working with the oil and gas companies, but we also really think about that ultimate customer, and that's the people who are getting in and out of this aircraft every single day to be able to go to work, right? That's what we're thinking about. And this is something that I feel that is part of the value conversation that is missed if we just simply talk about price. So what's really important to me, and I want to say here is, on behalf of Sikorsky and Lockheed Martin, we really appreciate the trust and confidence that our customers have in our products. It really is important for us, for everybody to know that your mission is ours. Thank you. Oh, good.
Thanks, Beck. Audrey, that was very interesting. With regard to the analysis...
I'm not sure if that's a compliment or not. Sorry.
You may convince me.
Okay.
On the analysis you've just done, and you said aircraft-related costs, what are you factoring in as far as ownership cost is concerned?
So again, we wanted to make sure we use public data. So ownership costs, we looked at what it costs to maintain, right, Conklin and DeDecker, so that we make sure we're across the board estimating what is cost to maintain the helicopter as well as acquisition costs.
Yeah, well, let's just drill down on the acquisition cost. Are you looking at new for new, or are you looking at used market?
No, new for new, yeah.
New for new. So you used a lease rate factor, did you? Or?
Yes, lease rate factor as well as acquisition cost. I think we used what is indicative pricing for a new helicopter. I'm looking at Dave because he...
New acquisition is not a lease.
Okay, so new
thanks.
acquisition.
So, okay, fine. Thanks very much.
There's a lot of obstacles on this.
Hi, Sarah here from Ascent. With the introduction of the A+ and B, I can't remember when you said they were going to be in service.
Absolutely, thank you.
But what do you anticipate happening to the residual values of the current S92A model?
Great question. So we announced at HAI that the A+ is a kit that will have all of this technology available in 2023 to be able to upgrade all of the aircraft that are currently in the fleet, so it can only improve the residual value of the aircraft. And the B, which is the new production model, which really the only things that will be different, titanium side frames, like I said, larger windows, will be available in 2025. So what we're trying to do is we're saying, here's a perfect strategic benefit, right? For everybody in the room, we did this on purpose because we did not want our customers to have to wait into new production aircraft in order to be able to invest in the latest technology. What we wanted to do was we wanted to make it fully retrofittable so that you can have a consistent fleet across your company, but also be able to get the benefit of the latest and greatest technology. So that was a design criteria so that it actually helps the residual value of the aircraft that are currently in the market.
Okay, any more questions? You've got a quick question on Slido. Corey mentioned the 30,000 flight hour life limit.
Yes.
Are you seeing any pushback from operators?
Absolutely. However, if you look at the tenders, and, oh, sorry, I thought you said Corey. So we have gotten a lot of pushback on that, but when you look at the tenders, a lot of the tenders that are currently in this space, say aircraft that have to be, younger than 15 years. And honestly, it will be able to go on to another life after that and still have plenty of life left. But, when you're really looking at the economics of, spending our resources on something to extend rather than recognize the industry tenders are going for something that is more time limited, that it will, our aircraft won't get to 30,000 hours. For us, it was, let's actually maximize the benefit to the aircraft that are in the fleet using later technology instead of the airframe.
Great, thank you. Oh, one more.
Oh.
I'd just like to add on to that 30,000 hour life limit question because it's come up a couple of times today. The current high time aircraft in the fleet right now are 23,000 plus hours. They're projected to reach the 30,000 hour life in 7 years from now, so 2027. And I think that's the point of Audrey's statement, right, is that you're a long way away, and even based on today's requirements and preferences for aircraft type, that 30,000 hours is probably an appropriate lifespan for the airframe anyway, especially in its primary mission. And that's only, the aircraft even still that are only at that 20,000 hour plus is a very small fraction, single digits of the fleet. So this is a concern for 10 years from now, but for, a handful of aircraft.
Great. Thank you very much.